I think so.
Which kind of, I think makes us internet millionaires, but I'm not sure.
I'm already rich.
Well, yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me. I'm just doing it for fun.
And I know you can only see this little bit of the room, but man, if you could see the rest of this room, it's like a palace.
Yeah, I mean, like the really plain walls behind me pretty much gives it away how rich I am.
Just because it's the best place to film against.
Yep. Yeah, that's all. I got a separate room just for filming. This isn't my bedroom or anything. No.
There's not an unmade bed on that side of the room.
With South Park pajama pants.
There you go. Final Fantasy V. Probably a total crime that I didn't play this as much as I could have. Because it got re-released in Final Fantasy Anthology back in, I believe, '98 for the original PlayStation.
Yeah.
And it got re-released that with 6. And 6 we'll get into a little bit later. We've both played 6 to death. Literally, but we'll talk about that later.
One of us died.
Yeah, one of us died.
We used Revive, a Phoenix Down, even.
Or we got one of the Dragon Balls. But Final Fantasy V, like I say, probably total crime that I didn't play it as much as I could have, because I had it. It was fucking sitting right there. So Final Fantasy V is another one. I'm really not doing much on this video so far. I will when we get to the later ones, because I'm a child of the later Final. I like how I popped my collar when I said that. I'm a child of the later later Final Fantasies. So I'll be able to talk quite a bit more about those. You're gonna have to introduct. You're gonna have to pilot the ship on Final Fantasy V, I believe.
Well, what happened to your copy?
I don't know.
I'll just lend you mine. You can play it sometime.
Well, sounds good to me.
Alright, Final Fantasy V. Pretty much a better Final Fantasy 3, I would think. Just the job. It's all about the job system in Final Fantasy V. I mean, I don't even know what else to say about it. I mean, the story, it's like whatever. Even the music, while it's good, it's not really, it's not amazing.
Kind of goes back to Final Fantasy 1. There's a bad dude and you gotta go get him.
Yeah, everything is just kind of but the job system makes it a lot of fun. If you like job systems, and Final Fantasy V is one of your best Final Fantasies besides like Tactics. Tactics was fun.
Yes, but we said we're not going to get into the offshoot bullshit.
But Tactics is
fun.
Tactics
is a good game.
Really fun.
Or
except for the Game Boy Advance one, it sucks.
If you happen to be a male between the age of 13 and 16, you need something to jerk off to, Final Fantasy X too. It's really the only reason to get the game.
Yep. You feel dirty afterwards.
You feel dirty, but you feel good about that.
Yeah. So,
anything more to say about Final Fantasy V?
The girls aren't very hot.
They're pixels, man.
What? No, that's all I got.
All right.
I don't remember tons about it. It was fun though. Like I said, job system. It's all about the job system.
Job system, by the way, is never anything I really got into.
Really?
In any of the games. I think it's because I couldn't understand it. Because I think I'm just, my brain doesn't work that way.
Really enjoyed it. Yes. Job system every now and then is fun. Alright, so now we go on to
the meat and potatoes. We're starting to get into the later ones, a little bit more into my field. Final Fantasy VI, released in North America as Final Fantasy III. This was probably the game that piqued my interest in RPGs. It's kind of like the first time you watch lesbian porn. It's like you watch it the first time and you're like, I really like this, and I can't wait to see what else is out there for me.
My mom doesn't watch this.
Well, if she does, I'm sorry. I know you think I'm...
We're adults.
I know you think I'm a perfect person and better than your son, but...
she does.
It's okay. All right. Yeah, well, he's gonna console himself a little bit. But Final Fantasy VI has some fantastic characters. Some of the best characters still to this day that I've ever encountered in a Final Fantasy. The one thing I think that really sticks out for me about 6 is Kefka is a crazy motherfucker. Kefka is the final boss in FF6, as most of you already know. Kefka is a crazy motherfucker. Kefka is literally insane.
Hope someone gets the phone.
I hope someone gets this. See, it just so happens that in this gigantic room that we're filming this in, the phone just happens to be right there. Looks like somebody got it. That must have been the butler.
All right, we good.
Must have been the butler. Sorry, Mike. Donkey Punch Central.
Just since we're mentioning Butler, just want to say hi, Doug, and your lovely wife.
Oh, she's lovely.
Oh, she's lovely.
Oh, she's lovely.
Oh, yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
alright, Final Fantasy 6.
Alright, I think this video is going to be a little bit too big for YouTube, but oh well. We'll split it up.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 6, you know, fairly straightforward battle system. There's quite a few, you know, a lot of weapons you run into, short and long range weapons. The ability to hold a weapon in each hand, which was fantastic. At that point, that was the first time I'd ever experienced that in a game.
The old Genji glove.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Had great enemies. Had, like I said, really, really memorable characters. Shadow is just an awesome character.
Yeah.
I personally liked. I can't even remember his name now. That's sad.
What do you do?
The dude that Mr. Thou.
Gaw?
No, Gaw was the guy that called him Mr. Thou.
You mean oh my god.
Sorry. We say sorry to this character. We're gonna have to look him up a little bit later.
I used to use him all the time.
I know, so did
Cayenne.
Cayenne, exactly. Or Cyan.
Cayenne.
Settle the debate on the comments under the video. Is it Cayenne or Cyan? I really liked Cyan. Really liked Sabin.
Yeah.
I thought Celis was a great character.
Definitely.
Terra was good. Terra was great. Literally, pretty much every character.
Everyone was good in it, and the only two that maybe were throwaway was the Yeti.
Yeah.
But he was a secret character. You didn't have to get him. He didn't have much of a story. He was just kind of cool. Mog, I didn't think was a real fascinating character, but at that point, Moogles were such a big part in Final Fantasy that, you know, you had to have it. And Go-Go, while being kind of a throwaway character and you learn nothing about Go-Go, Go-Go is one of my favorite because there are so many theories on the internet and everything about who Go-Go is. Could be no one, could just be this random character, but there's so many theories that it's like something I kind of miss about Final Fantasies nowadays, like mysteries of the characters. Like with Shadow, you know, you knew he was like a mercenary, but you know, if you stayed at a certain inn, you would get like a dream of his, and it would reveal more of his character. Not many I don't think any Final Fantasies really do stuff like that anymore.
No.
Do they?
The next one that we talk about, 7, delves a lot into like dreams, but nothing that's done really in the same way that comes to my head.
Like you don't have to do it, but if you do it, you're all of a sudden you're treated to some dream, right? And I like that. But yeah, great, just great characters. And we gotta go on.
Sorry, we're going to interrupt each other a lot, probably. Just another thing I had to throw in about Shadow's character, and then I probably have to move on to 7, is it's one of the first times in a Final Fantasy where you're really given the option whether a character lives or dies.
Yes.
When you're on the floating continent, you have the ability to save Shadow's life, and if you don't, he dies and you cannot get him back.
All you have to do is wait for him.
Once, I mean, if you're nice and you wait for him, you're rewarded. If not, you know, you're jackasses. And I mean, it sort of takes the idea of like a Fable, the game like Fable, where like your decisions influence how the game goes. And I mean, we're talking, you know, 90s when they were doing that, like 20 years ago. So I mean, that was just really, really fantastic. So like I say, FF6 is the one that really sort of kicked me in the butt as far as RPGs goes, made me interested in it.
You know, another thing we got to touch on, I mean, I'll probably touch on this for the remaining Final Fantasies, so get used to it. Music in 6, fantastic. Has one of the best soundtracks of any Final Fantasy. And the story is dark as hell. I mean, the world gets destroyed halfway through. Celis tries to commit suicide. Everyone's just walking around the second half of the game, like, depressed, with this depressing world music, right?
Yeah.
And the kind of the cool thing about the World of Ruin is you can play the World of Ruin however you want, pretty much. Yeah. Like, you can go into Gefka's Tower, like, pretty much as soon as you get the airship. You know, and that's cool. That's a really neat idea. You can explore. Just, Final Fantasy VI is tied for my favorite Final Fantasy. It's the best of the old school Final Fantasy.